Okay, let's get back. We've got, we go in file order, so Assemblymember Mays, actually, Assemblymember Quirk, snuck up behind you. All right, this is file item 14, and we did remove file item 18, and I appreciate your contacting me on that at an earlier stage.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
We're all very busy, so we want to make sure to be as efficient as we possibly can.
Much appreciated. File item 14, colleagues. This is AB 1748. Assemblymember Mays, good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, in 2014, 4,500 Californians died of drug overdose, most related to opioids. And in Sacramento alone, more than 50 people have been treated for opioid overdose since March. This highlights the need to expand access to naloxone, a medication that can block the effects of opioids and stop overdoses. AB 1748 allows schools on a voluntary basis to stock naloxone on their campuses and allows school nurses and other trained volunteer employees to administer it to someone suffering an overdose. This isn't a medication that will be needed every day, but there's so little downside that it just makes sense to allow schools to stock it. This is a why not bill. I'll now introduce Robert Harris, representing the California Society of Addiction Medicine.
Thank you. Witnesses in support, please.
Madam Chair, members, Robert Harris on behalf of the California Society of Addiction Medicine, California Specialists in the Treatment of Addictions. This is a wonderful drug because it's totally safe. No one's ever had a bad reaction. And you can give it to someone who's down on the floor, passed out, and if it wasn't caused by opiates, it doesn't affect them at all. If it was caused by opiates, it puts them into withdrawal. If they're a kid and they aren't even an addict, it'll wake them right up. And then you get them to the hospital and make sure they're stabilized. But it has so many positives and so little negatives that it just makes perfect sense to do this.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in support.
Good morning. Glenn Backus for Drug Policy Alliance. In support, naloxone has been available since 1972 with paramedics, so we have a 40-year history of its safety and efficacy. And in California, we have passed many laws, always by bipartisan consent or bipartisan majorities, to make naloxone available for laypersons to administer. To allow schools to stock is simply logical. There is no magical line around schools that prevents death from opiate OD. Opiate OD is the #1 cause of death. Drug overdose is the #1 accidental cause of death in the state. This is an urgently needed bill, and we strongly support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in support, name and affiliation, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and members. Tom Renfrey, Deputy Director of Substance Abuse Prevention and Treatment for the County Behavioral Health Directors Association. We strongly support making naloxone more accessible in light of the opioid crisis. We strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Donna Artukovich, California State PTA, in support.
Thank you.
Karen Leggett, an unpaid activist to protect children from pot and other drugs. I'm in support of this bill.
That unpaid activist is a redundancy. Unpaid activist, but anyway.
I'm trying to let you know I'm not a lobbyist, but
Understood.
I'm unpaid.
Thank you.
To do what I do.
Thank you very much. Witnesses in opposition. Are there any witnesses here in opposition? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the committee. Any questions, concerns? I note that the CTA in the analysis would like to have nurses do it. I would love to see nurses in schools. Haven't had it for years. I don't know that we will. But in the meantime, if we can save lives from, and we have this opioid epidemic going on now, I certainly appreciate that you brought this bill forward. I think we have addressed concerns, and with that, I would entertain a motion on the measure. Entertain a motion on the measure. Moved by Senator Hertzberg. If you'd like to close.
Madam Chair, thank you so much. I'd respectfully request an aye vote.
Well done. All right. Very good. Please call the roll. The motion is due pass to Senate Appropriations.
Jackson?
Aye.
Jackson, aye. Morlock? Anderson? Hertzberg? Aye. Hertzberg, aye. Leno? Monning? Wachowski?
Bill has 2 votes, and we'll place it on call. Thank you
so
very
much.
much. Appreciate your. All right. All right. Let's see. I think Assemblymember Quirk, you are next. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Senators. AB 1820 seeks to establish a first-of-its-kind set of regulations on the use of a drone by law enforcement. I'd like to talk a little bit about the very thorough analysis done on this bill by the committee. The analysis, excuse me,
If we could keep the doors closed, that'd really help. The noise is just a killer. All right. That's much better. Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the very thorough analysis done on this bill by the committee. The analysis suggests in concept several amendments for me to consider making on the bill. First, the analysis makes some observations about the potential for data breaches without security protections. The analysis makes some suggestions about how to better protect the data and information to be captured by the drones. I agree with the suggestions in concept and would simply like to work out the exact language. Second, the analysis discusses the fundamental right to privacy and suggests language for me to consider, making my bill more clear about this fundamental right and how it is to be respected by law enforcement. I'd like to discuss these amendments in more detail with your staff. I've been working all year to draft a bill that balances privacy rights with law enforcement's ability to use this technology to fight crime. I'm concerned about taking a stand on constitutional issues for which I have no expertise and for which the courts have a lot of expertise. And to what extent do drones infringe on someone's expectation of privacy and thus violate the Fourth Amendment? So here it's a question of really what I know, and I don't know a lot about that area. I think it is fair to insert language to clarify what law enforcement is currently allowed to do and not allowed to do. Again, I would like for our staffs to work together on this language and see if we can find an approach we're both comfortable with and that the organizations that have weighed in on the bill thus far are reasonably comfortable with and that the governor will be comfortable with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there witnesses here in support of this bill? Witnesses in support? Are there witnesses in opposition to this bill? If you'd come forward, please. All right.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Kevin Baker from the American Civil Liberties Union of California. We have remaining concerns. Thank you, committee, for its thorough analysis. This is an issue, of course, that you saw last year, and we would ask that that you take consistent action with the amendments that you took last year on AB 56, which is a substantially identical bill, and in that form, we would remove our opposition. Thank you.
So I'm clear, you're asking that this bill conform with AB 56.
That's right, Madam
Which
Chair.
is also, and I'd ask the Assembly member, because I'm a little confused too. Assembly Member Quirk, you have a bill that I believe is on the Senate floor right now, AB 56, which the witness is asking.
If I thought the governor would sign that bill, I'd put it out right now. I'm quite happy with that bill, as is he. However, I don't expect it to get a signature, and that's why it's been held.
All right, appreciate that explanation. Next witness in opposition.
Samantha Corbin on behalf of Electronic Frontier Foundation. Unfortunately, we're also in opposition to the measure. I believe, similar to my colleague before me, that had fewer concerns about AB 56 and would just urge that you vote no on this bill today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other witnesses in opposition to this measure? Any witnesses in opposition? All right, bringing it back to the members. I appreciate that statement because I think AB 56, which we worked hard on, and I think is a very good bill. It balances, you know, the question of whether or not law enforcement can just simply photograph, video, whatever, anything in the public domain without a warrant is just too great a lift for me, and that's essentially what this bill does. And I also agree that if this bill mirrored AB 56, it's a good bill. It balances those rights. But to give law enforcement the right to simply be able to, capture anything in public without a warrant is just, to me, too draconian and a concession. And I don't know where the governor stands on that. I would like to suggest, and I'm going to suggest, without any disrespect to the author, that AB 56 is truly worthy of passage by the legislature and submission to the governor if he doesn't like the bill, if he has some suggestions. But I think this bill goes way overboard from what I'm comfortable with, allowing just sort of unfettered access by law enforcement without a warrant to that, to unmanned aircraft systems. And I'd like your comment on that, but I know that there have been efforts to try to hone the bill down. It's just, I think you got a really good bill with AB 56, and I think that in the balancing of the responsibilities for law enforcement to get warrants in the use of these aircraft systems, that this just doesn't go far enough to protect the public and the right of privacy that we have. So.
Thank you. Just in my close, the choice for me is going ahead with this bill, which at least would protect private property, versus AB 56, which I do not expect to be signed by the governor. So the choice is this, or we wait for a new governor. And, it's only 2.5 years, but that's 2.5 years where people who could be surveilled on for private property. So that's why I'm going ahead with this bill at this time. Thank you.
And I appreciate that. I would suggest that because we have a bill on the floor, perhaps we can keep working on AB 56 to see if we can't tweak that to meet what you believe the governor's requirements are. This one is just too broad a berth, gives just far too much power to law enforcement without the need to obtain a warrant, that I'm going to urge a no vote on it.
All right. Well, I'm certainly willing to work with you on language. I'd prefer to move this bill forward and work on language with it, but that's your decision as chair.
Very good. And I appreciate it. I appreciate your work on this. This is an issue that we need to try to move forward. And again, perhaps getting the governor to signal his objections. The bill is on the floor. We can keep working on it. This bill, however, I think is just too unwieldy and too much of a violation of our rights to insist upon warrants in addressing the use of these aerial unmanned vehicles. So that is kind of my position on it. If anyone else has a position, all right. With that, if there is no motion, we will hold the bill. If someone wants to move it and take a vote on it, we can do that as well.
Thank you.
I appreciate your work on this very much.
All right.
Yeah. We can choose to hold the bill without a motion, which is fine with me, or we can move the bill and the recommendation of the chair is a no vote.
Whatever the senators want is fine.
Okay. All right. So I don't hear any motions. So with that, we will hold the bill. If someone does wish to make a motion going forward, we don't have a full committee. Certainly, we can move.
Should I? Well, you could. Let's see. I'm certainly willing to work with you on the bill if it passes out of the committee. I'm also willing to work with you on AB 56. So that being said.
It would be the wish of the chair, because we've worked on AB 56, that be the vehicle that we work on to try to address what the concerns may be that are keeping it from being heard on the floor.
Well, it's a large part of the bill. It would be easier to modify this one, that's all.
I appreciate that. I think this bill is way too broad, and I think you've got a good bill with 56. So That would be my recommendation, but not hearing a motion at this time, we will certainly offer that if anyone wants to move it, but I'm going to be recommending a no vote if that's the case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your work on this issue. File item, let me see, we have Assemblymember Manshine is here on file item 15. And the Assemblyman has two bills. We'll start with AB 1782 on franchises. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Today I'm pleased to present AB 1782. Currently, the DBO views franchisors exhibiting at trade shows as an offer to sell a franchise under the California Franchise Investment Law, which is prohibited unless the franchisor has first registered or has satisfied an exemption from registration. This creates a potential barrier for franchisors interested in participating in trade shows in California, but who do not wish to go through the process prior to knowing if there is any interest. This discourages new franchise investment in California. The proposed bill would permit a franchisor who does not have a currently effective franchise registration and/or a disclosure document to display at a trade show for the limited purpose of determining whether there is sufficient interest in the franchise to warrant the time and expense of preparing a disclosure document and obtaining a registration. Such participation would be conditioned on the franchisor giving the DBO prior notice of its intent to participate in the trade show and posting a conspicuous notice that it does not have a currently registered disclosure document and is not offering franchises for sale in California at this time. I have with me my sponsor, Matthew Kreutzer, from the Business Law section of the State Bar of California, along with Randy Pollack with me today to testify in support.
Thank you very much. Witnesses in support, 2 minutes each, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm Matt Kreutzer. I'm with the State Bar of California's Franchise Law Committee. We originally proposed this legislation because we want to correct a problem that currently exists where franchisors are unable to exhibit at trade shows in California, even if they're going to just try to test the waters and see if there's interest in the market for their concepts. This even applies where the franchisor is based in another state and the franchisee, the prospective franchisee, will be based in another state. Even those transactions are chilled based on the existing law in California. So this proposal would try to correct for that problem.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in support?
Madam Chair, Randy Pollack on behalf of the International Franchise Association. For many years, the IFA was sponsoring a conference down in Anaheim where thousands of people would attend. This year, and I believe last year and this year, they are now have moved that convention to Denver because of this situation. So we believe that this situation, this legislation will rectify the situation and allow, hopefully, the convention to come back to Anaheim. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in support, if you just step forward with name and affiliation.
Madam Chair, Keith Miller, Subway franchisee, Coalition of Franchisee Association. Little involvement in franchising, as you know it, over the years.
It's fond memories.
I think last year we complained about the gray hair from all the years of it, didn't we? We had some initial concerns with this bill. The author and the sponsor did take amendments that added additional protections of disclosure that we felt satisfied us, and then so we are fine with the bill.
Very good. Thank you. Other witnesses in support? Are there any witnesses in opposition? Any opposition to the bill? All right, seeing none, we have a motion. Is there any discussion, further discussion? You know, I appreciate what you're trying to accomplish here, and frankly, initially, I was really kind of on the fence toward the negative, because why else would someone spend a substantial amount of money to exhibit at a trade show if you're not, you know, wanting to bring in franchisees? The fact that this will be posted and that there are disclaimers that have been made, I think, resolves my concerns about that. I anticipate that most of the franchisors who are not otherwise registered and what have you are the smaller franchisors. I mean, why would I mean, Subway is already registered, for example. Someone mentioned Subway. So I think this might be also an opportunity for potentially smaller companies, franchisors, to come in, and I think that might be a good business opportunity for the state. So I thank you for taking those amendments. I think they make it a reasonable bill, and appreciate the work you've done on that. So we have a motion. If you'd like to briefly close.
I would take that as my close. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Sounds good to me. Thank you very much. Please, we have a motion due pass to Senate Appropriations. Please call the roll.
Jackson.
Aye.
Jackson, aye. Morlock. Morlock, aye. Anderson. Hertzberg. Leno. Monning. Wachowski. Wachowski, aye.
You have 3 votes. You need 4. We'll put that on call and then take, thank you, gentlemen, and then take the second item, which is file item 20, AB 1836.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members. Today I present AB 1836, which would serve to get individuals with severe mental illness that are overlooked by current law the help and treatment they need by giving a probate judge the authority to order a referral to the county mental health system for an assessment to determine if a grave disability is present. This bill is very similar to last year's AB 193, which was supported by the committee and unanimously in both houses, but vetoed by the governor. In his veto message, he stated that 193 bypasses the clinical expertise of county professionals. We believe our latest round of amendments completely addresses the governor's concerns by now involving the clinical expertise of the county's professionals. These amendments also removed nearly all of the opposition. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to present this important bill for those who are affected with severe mental illness.
Thank you very much. Witnesses in support.
Larry Doyle on behalf of the Conference of California Bar Associations. We're the sponsor of this bill. I've been working with Assemblymember Mainshine for the past couple of years to try to fill a gap in existing law that prevents existing probate conservatees from finding an easy or a convenient or even a reasonable entrance into an LPS conservatorship as one is necessary. There are deficiencies in existing law this bill will fill. It backs away from prior versions which would have required an investigation by the public guardians or whoever else is doing it at the county level. This instead provides for the evaluation. It moves back a step in the process. It responds to the governor's problems with the bill, we think, but it still will help us accomplish this goal of protecting these people. With that, we ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? If you'd step forward.
Actually, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Farrah McDade-Ting from the California State Association of Counties in a neutral position, not opposition. In fact, we're very pleased to be here today in a neutral position. The author has worked very hard with us and other county interests to arrive at a bill that we think works for everybody. The defining goal of the bill and what the author and his sponsors hope to achieve was to make sure that people who are struggling with the mental illness touch the mental health system. This bill in this version does that. It allows for an assessment, a referral for an assessment by the county mental health agency. We think that's the proper way to do it, the proper role. If that person is gravely disabled as a result of their mental illness, then we can talk about other options like the LPS conservatorship. So we're very pleased to be here in a neutral position today. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a strong neutrality.
Madam Chair, members, Julian Navoris with the Urban Counties of California also recently removed our opposition to the bill. Neutral, we agree, as the previous speaker stated, that it's important to have the county mental health person assess that person to ensure that we're making the right case for services and supports. So we are now neutral. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in neutrality or support?
Madam Chair and members, Trent Smith on behalf of the California State Association of Public Guardians, Public Conservators, and Public Administrators. We were opposed to previous versions, but we are now in that strong neutral position.
Excellent, excellent. All right, any witnesses in opposition? And I believe this would be a motion due pass as amended. You're accepting the amendments?
I am. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion. I want to thank you for doing this. This is a start. Mental illness, we know we've got to get a handle on this. Yep. We have a court system set up for this through the probate courts. Hopefully they'll be adequately funded. I anticipate we are going to see more and more demand for that oversight, which I think is completely appropriate, and for the services that hopefully will emanate from the directive of the courts. Hope the governor's listening. We really do need those resources available. And I want to thank you for the bill and the amendments. I think obviously now we have a lot of neutral enthusiasm for the bill, which is always nice to see. And with that, we have a motion. The motion is due pass to Senate Appropriations. Please call the roll.
The motion is due pass as amended to Senate Appropriations. Jackson?
Aye.
Jackson, aye. Morlock? Morlock, aye. Anderson? Hertzberg? Leno? Monning? Wachowski? Wachowski, aye.
And if there are any additional amendments taken, I would like to be added as a co-author.
Thank you very much, Madam
Appreciate
Chair
it.
and members. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see. File item 9, Assemblymember Gomez. And that is Assembly Bill 1685.